Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phil's Place. I've got a very, very good friend on. His name is John Giammarco. John is an assistant basketball coach at Montour High School. And John is the king of putting together Hall of Fame ceremonies, namings of Hall of Fames, you name it, all throughout Western Pennsylvania. And we're going to specifically talk about Montour Legacy, which is Montour High School's basketball Hall of Fame. And for those of you that don't know Montour High School, it sits in Robinson Township. And our most famous alum, I would say, is probably Michael Keaton, class of 1969.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. John, how you
He
doing?
was Michael Douglas in 1969.
Yes, he was. That is true. That is true. So how you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there.
That's
I'm
good.
hanging in.
That's good. So on December 30th, we have a big event at Montour High School at the gym.
Yes.
And we're going to be announcing this evening the members of the 25 class of the Montour Legacy, the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay. So before we get into the names, how's this all put together, John?
Well, I've been a part of the Montour basketball community really since I was a child. I mean,
Okay.
my late brother played at Montour, and a lot of these guys from the 60s and 70s, there used to be pickup games in my backyard as a kid. And these guys all came back here and played.
Right.
And I was just a little guy, and my dad got me little Dixie cups. And if you remember the old Bailey's juice, plastic jugs, and
I do.
I used to fill up the jugs and have my cups ready, and I'd bring everybody water.
Right.
And had some amazing talents coming through this backyard. So a lot of the Montour Legacy stuff, to an extent, is sort of reliving my childhood. I mean, these guys were my heroes. It was kind of weird. I used to have this little basketball game. If you don't know if you recall it, where you'd like kind of pull the lever and a ping pong ball would go flying,
Oh,
try
yeah,
to
of
go.
course. Yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, and I loved Montour basketball, the McKees Rocks Gazette would come,
Mm-hmm.
and I would cut these pictures out, and I'd color them in real nice. And I used to tape them to my game. I used to pretend to be these guys,
No way.
Jimmy Giammarco and Jay Robbins and Ray D'Amico, who grew up just up the street here. And, I don't know if anything excited me more as a kid than to go to a Montour basketball game.
Right.
As things evolved, I became part of the program, and it was my son's senior year. My son's senior year, we were talking about, 1,000-point scorers.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found out was a lot of the history was lost for whatever reasons. I mean,
No one really kept track.
and I started researching this, and I had summer league at North Hills High School. I, have leagues all over town. And they had this amazing display. And I said, we need to do that at home. And one word led to another. And there's a lot of layers to the onion at Montour. And I went to the athletic committee meeting, and I said, I'd like to do something to remember, you know, and the word legacy came out of my mouth.
Okay. Right.
And they said, that's it. Because I didn't want to call it a Hall of Fame. Because I mean, there's, there's other, I mean, there was a concern raised what about the other sports. And
Right.
obviously, I mean, I've got a little bit of a working knowledge of some of the sports,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, nowhere near what it is with basketball.
Right.
And I started researching the project. And I headed to the Carnegie Library, and it was such a return in time, if you will. They had all those McKees Rocks Gazettes on microfilm.
Wow.
And I'm
That's
like,
fantastic.
I remember this picture. I remember this picture.
Yeah.
And I went up in the attic and I found that basket game,
Hmm.
and I flipped the box open, and they were still taped there, like it was 1972 all over again. And it was just so I started to really, and I said, what I found out was, the score books, the historical perspective that is, at the touch of a Google search wasn't there. So you really couldn't get into the 1,000 point scores because you really couldn't document it. I could no more prove nor disprove, who may or may not have been a 1,000 point scorer, especially when we start getting into the 60s, where it was kind of unfair because there was no 3 point shooting. It was a different animal in 1967,
Right.
and Montour had some amazing teams back then.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And my older sisters are class of '69, and that was one of the first. And it included your buddy Michael Keaton, by the way. Uh, and I I just remember going to the Montour High School when they were seniors, the excitement. It was in the old ninth and 10th grade gym. That was the main gym then. The new gym wasn't built yet. And just, you know, I watched Johnny Huffnagel play as a little boy. I watched John Stinner and Larry Ludwig and Richard Furco. And I'll share with you a funny story about Ricky. He was Ricky Furco to
Mhm.
the rest of the world, but now he's an entertainment attorney in L.A.
Okay.
And our paths crossed, and it's a funny story that I'll share in a bit. As I start digging into this, and I mean, I started taking notes, and now all of a sudden the yearbooks came out. I just got this vision of you know making a slideshow. When I celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Pittsburgh Basketball Club, I made a slideshow for. We had honored all of the deceased ground ballers and their families, and John Calipari was here, and we honored Sonny Vaccaro. And I made a slideshow and ended up, musically with some things with my good friend Jonathan Kane from
Yep.
Journey.
Yep.
And he had written a song called the songs you leave behind, and that was the music to the slideshow. And it just, the creative juices really start flowing. And it's hard to explain creative juices.
It just
You
kind of
know,
happens, you know.
I mean, they can, be like the waves on the start of Hawaii 5-0, as fast as it can be a dripping sink. And I start putting this all together. And I have been through every Montour/Robinson High School yearbook going all the way back to 1950.
Wow.
And we came up with, a series of names that, you know, made who were really the trailblazers for the guys that we were coaching.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
so when I'm sitting here, and my son was a senior on this team, and and it was like they never knew. They didn't know who Jay Robbins was, that went to Louisville.
Hmm.
Gentleman we're going to honor this year went to the University of Nebraska and he never came home.
Right.
They didn't know who John Huffnagel was, whose football jersey hangs in there. And he may have been a better basketball player than he was a
And he was
football
a
player.
football player, right?
And so I hit the ground running with this, and anybody that knows me knows that I am not the kind of guy that dabbles his toes in the shallow water. And so if we were
I'm
gonna
surprised
do
to
it,
hear that.
if we were gonna do it, it was gonna be bigger and it was gonna be better. And so I put this whole thing together, and got some people who were, historians of the Montour athletics,
Hmm.
Coach Watchko and Coach Gallius. All of a sudden, so I get this done, get my presentation to the athletic committee, and just one of the best administrators that I've ever worked with. Eric Sparkenbaugh.
Of course. Oh,
He was
absolutely.
best of friends with my neighbor Bobby D. Clemente
Bobby
growing
D,
up.
the late great Bobby
And
D.
I mean, we grew up together. I mean, Bobby grew up across the street, and Sparky was a childhood friend. And I think I got this done. And the athletic committee liked it. The athletic director liked it. Did some things budgetarily to just make it a little bit bigger and a little bit better. And,
Phenomenal.
I'm not the kind of guy that goes to Baskin Robbins and orders a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And so Sparky pulled me aside and he said, Johnny G, put it over the top. Like, I couldn't imagine what he was asking. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We do edits. We're good.
And he said, we got to include the girls.
Yeah.
And I remember just looking. I'm like, where on earth do I begin with that? And I start digging into it. And, the founder of really Montour girls sports, if you will, was Coach Gene Kondo. And just an amazing
Wonderful
teacher of
woman.
the game. And I mean,
What a great woman.
he was my study hall teacher in ninth grade.
Hmm.
And I used to just talk and talk and talk. And I had known that, Coach Kondo wasn't in good health. So, I kind of was on my own and I hit the ground running and I, you know, found, that Montour had won a girls. It wasn't even a WPIL yet.
Wow.
They won the UPGAL championship.
Okay.
And as I'm going through these yearbooks, and I have some people that the first girls basketball team, if you will, where they played 6-on-6 and you threw the ball to the side, kind of like how you did it in gym class when we were little. You know, there's some women that I have found out who were captains of those teams. I'm looking to, and it was a little late in the game to do it this year, but it's something that I'm going to do next year
Okay,
to
cool. That's
with the
great.
girls. So I got the girls up to speed. And like I said, I spent some time with Denny Hopper, who was a boys coach when I was in school, but great success at Montour as a girls coach. Jackie Burek, who picked up the baton there, who people don't realize that Jackie Burek coached at Montour, but he was the captain of the 1971 Fordham team that Digger Phelps coached,
My.
which was the springboard to Digger Phelps coaching at Notre Dame. I mean, Jack just said, so I started getting this cauldron going. Just that I spoke with Coach Kondo's niece, and in that first legacy group, she wasn't well. And they asked me, can you hold up? And I respected the family's wishes with that.
Right.
And then legacy night started the gallop. And I just had this vision, and I just remember that how everybody felt when we did that video at the Basketball Hall of Fame, at my big Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
I mean, and I never knew it at the time, but I found out I had a YouTube channel. I didn't even know it. And so this idea of this slideshow, and my son and his good friend Dylan Broda. I mean, he's like a second son to me. And
Hmm.
so I'm going through the yearbooks and I'm snapping pictures, with my phone, and so I'm getting ready to get into some production with this. And he said, "Coach, we can't use these pictures." I said, "Why?" I said, "There's like 40 years of Montour history here. What do you mean?" He said, "There's a yearbook. Yearbooks are done on a very glossy paper.
Right.
So when you take that picture with your phone, there's this little white dot.
Okay. Well, that would make sense then.
Well, but when you put it on the 12-foot screen in the gym, that little itty bitty dot's about a foot long.
Right. Right.
And
Size of a basketball.
we had to scan all those pictures. And so now we're starting to gallop with it.
Okay, good.
And
Good.
so I'm talking to my friends from Journey, and they said, "Look, we got a new record coming out, Freedom. You want to use one of the new songs?" Yeah, that's good. That's real good. And I started to pull it together. It's the record label, unreleased music. Please don't use that.
Right. Right. That's why I don't use any music
And
much for the
in the era of the music poaching and what have you, back in the day, Journey got burned something fierce by something called Napster.
right.
If you
Right.
remember that,
Of course I do.
you know, some demos of an unreleased album, and it was the first album that was going to be replacing Steve Perry, and
Mhm.
that album was under double lock and seal, and somehow some of the demos, and they weren't final productions, got released through Napster. And ever since then, I mean, they are very protective of unreleased products. So we had this done, and we had to lift the song, and we had to replace it, and it finally all came together.
Mhm.
And I had a little pregame reception, and I had guys that came back from as far back as 1953.
Wow.
Ed Ed Vitmar was just
Of course. Yep.
he may have been Montour's original basketball star, and his son is a dear friend of mine. And my brother coach Glenn. I coach Glenn, and at first he was reluctant. It's like, my dad's not well. I said, Viddy, this will be the night of his life. It was weird, Phil. I was standing at center court, and I was greeting everybody. Got introduced, and it was just so loud, the enthusiasm for this, and you could hear everybody when they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to center court, Montour High School." Did they say
Robinson High
Montour?
School.
Class, but I don't know. I don't remember if they, because it was loud. I don't remember if they said Montour or Robinson, class of
Right.
1953. Ed Vitmar, and you could hear everybody stand up. You,
Well,
you, you remember going to the baseball game as a kid? You
oh, yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
somebody would hit a home run,
Right.
that's what
That's
it
how it was for
sounded.
Mr. Vittmeyer.
That was what, and
Beautiful.
like Vidi was helping him, and he looked up and he just saw all these people standing and cheering for him. And, I mean, it's probably bad for my McKees Rock's tough guy image, but I actually had a tear rolling down my eye because
Well,
Mr.
anyone
Vidmeyer,
would. I wish I was there because if I was there, I certainly would have had tears coming down my eyes.
and, just to see
Right.
everybody just come home, and they just wanted to be a part of the program. And we had a gentleman from the class of 1960, and we honored him as well. And I mean, I'm so glad that I did it, because we lost both of these guys within months of
Yep.
having legacy night.
Right.
And I just remember that, Dave Yanish's widow had given me a call. I mean, after David passed,
Mhm.
and she said, John, I have to tell you this story. She said, she said, Dave wasn't in the best of health in his last. She said, that letter you sent him, she said, John, we've lived in Wexford since 1966. The mailman has come at 12:30 since 1966. And she said Dave would be outside at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, just hoping to bump into a neighbor to show him the letter that,
Aw.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that alone, Phil, made it worth doing.
Absolutely.
Just to
Right.
see these guys come home, and and that's part of my speech when, like I said, we have a little meet and greet and reception, and then we head over to the gym. And that's what I tell them all. I said, this will always be home. Loved it here, hated it here, anything in between there. This is home. This
Absolutely.
this
I
will
still feel
always
like
be
it's
home. And see the number of the members of the Legacy Club
Mhm.
at home games.
That's the best.
It is just such a, like, I mean, there's one of our players, class of 72, Jay Robbins. He
Mhm.
lives in Buffalo.
Right.
he might be at more of the games than I'm at, and I'm the damn assistant coach. And he's just like these guys are like, you know, I have I have group chats set up to share scores just to kind of condense it down and
Right.
you know
Was
and
Jay
then
on that baseball team as well, the 1972 baseball team that won the states?
I have not started a Montour baseball legacy.
Right.
I have spoken with Vidi about doing it.
Okay.
My late brother was an assistant coach with baseball
For a long time. Back when I was
for
in
a
high
lot
school,
of years.
he was
And
assistant coach.
yeah, it's something that would be important to me. I mean, the one that I worry about, and I don't know really where to start with something like this would be football. I mean,
Yeah.
so many greats came
Oh my gosh, yeah.
out of Montour, and a lot of the historians of that era have passed.
Right.
Coach Krigger's gone, and
Right.
John Ketcher's gone,
Mhm.
and it would be a monumental task. It really would be. But what we're getting to, when they ask, why is this important to you? That first generation of Montour students is now retired, and now they're I don't want to host a wake.
Right. Right.
And I say that often, like when I do the Western Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. I don't want to host a wake.
Right. No, I agree.
I want them to be there. I want them to. So when you think of it that way, to have Mr. Yanish and Mr. Wittmeyer be able to, I'm just so grateful that I was able to share a meal with them and share the stage with them.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it's good that, these kids of today, and I think it's part of the problem of the world today, if you would, we're starting to forget what got us here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Coach Russo and I were very, very close.
Mhm.
My brother was his assistant.
Yep.
Many people
Another
know
great
that,
guy, Mr. Russo. Fantastic guy.
but Coach Russo's son is a part of this,
Good.
and it's very important, and it's just really become something that you start back to that Jonathan Cain song, the songs you leave behind.
Right. Right.
I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and and I'd like to think I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning, but I want this to live on. I guess it's got to be a perpetual thing where, like this year, we're going to honor one of the kids that played for me. Started from with me as a little third grader, and he ended up walking on, playing 4 years well, he played only 3 years at Pitt. Vason Stephenson.
Okay.
He graduated in 3 years from Pitt, and I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful young man, wonderful family, and nobody deserves this more than him.
Okay, great. Good for him.
And but so we're getting through, like for this year,
Yeah, let's you wanna name the
we
inductees?
have folks from the class of 64, class of 69, 71, 79, 89, 98, in 2022. So I try to bring a little piece of Montour history home from every generation.
Yeah, from almost every decade you mentioned.
And so on the boys' side,
Yes.
we are going to honor this year the memory of Doug Masciola, who
Wow.
his claim to fame was coaching high school basketball at center.
Mhm.
But he was a educator, superintendent at various schools, and just a wonderful, wonderful man.
Good.
And his like widow Janet's going to be joining us. There's a funny story with that. For those of you who we're going to watch this with some Montour roots. My sister Teresa was a second grade teacher. I mean, everybody knows my brother Nello from David E.
Yeah,
and
he was my 8th
sports
grade
and
teacher
everything.
in English. Right.
And but my sister Teresa was a second grade teacher at Forest Grove,
Okay.
and so the challenge to some of this is locating these
Right.
folks.
Right.
So I go to call Mrs. Teresa. Can you get me the number? Yeah, I could get you the number. I know her, and so my sister is friends with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk in the house and it's like, "Oh, here's the number." I said, "Great. What's her first name?" I said, "Okay, great." So I'm sitting over at my fall league and, "Hey, good evening. May I speak to Alice?" "Oh, I'm sorry, you got the wrong number." And I've got these gnarly fingers that don't straighten. So I figured I'd dialed a number wrong. And dial it again. "Good evening. May I speak to Alice?" "Sir, you have the wrong number." So I call my sister. I said, "Can you double check this number?" And she takes her right over to the gym. She had this sheepish look on her face. I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, "Well, Johnny, that's the right number." I said, "Can't be." I said, "Lady says it's the wrong number." She goes, "No, Johnny, her name's not Alice, it's Janet." So I call a third time. You can tell this lady's aggravated, but she can see my
You
name
didn't
and
disguise your voice?
she recognizes the name popping up on her
Yeah.
phone.
Right.
I'm
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
"Hi, I would like to speak to Janet this time." And she's like, "There you go." So so Doug is from the class of 1964.
Okay.
And again, he is he's one of the godfathers of Montour basketball. Was a part of some very prolific teams in the mid 1960s.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, Doug Doug was just a Doug was the freshman basketball coach at Washington and Jefferson
Wow.
in 1979. So he coached our current head coach, Billy Minear,
Yep.
at W&J.
That's great.
So it's just it's a small world, and because so we're going to bring back so we're going to honor Doug, and it's long overdue. And again, I just wasn't sure, how to incorporate this, with Doug having passed, but richly deserved, richly
Absolutely.
deserved. Two members of the class of 1969, which and I'm a little bit biased because I think we've had some pretty damn good teams over the last 5 years. But the class of 68 and 69 were some damn good teams at Montour. You got to remember back then, I mean, you had to win the section championship to make
Hmm.
the playoffs. I mean, I look back at my career and, in my coaching days at Stowe Rocks, we won 3 straight Whitfield championships and we never won the section.
Hmm.
We won 3. We won 91, 92, 93. We won championships, but we never won the section. Two members of that just tremendous class, John Stinner
Okay.
and Larry Ludwig.
That's nice. Very
And,
nice.
well, I'm going to give a little caveat to Larry, and I'm just going to jump ahead for 1 second. We are also going to honor his son, Corey Ludwig,
Good.
class of 1989.
Yep.
And
You're behind me, Corey.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Corey was I coached Corey. As a matter of fact, Billy Minear and I were the freshman coach.
Okay.
And we coached Corey, Glenn Vittmeyer, Brian Lysick, whose daughter's member of the Legacy Club as well. But Corey, ended up playing college football at William and Mary.
With
He had a roommate named Mike Tomlin.
exactly.
And well, I'm going to take the story one step further. And Corey played professional ball for the Saskatchewan Roughriders up in Canada.
Yeah.
And the general manager there is another Montour graduate, John Huffnagel,
Yes.
who, if the stars align, will be home here for Legacy
Well, that would be great.
next year. But Corey's travel roommate with the Saskatchewan Roughriders was Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
I never knew that.
I mean, so
I never knew that.
Corey was one of the he was just a natural. He was just a natural. And one of my favorites, and again, I'm lucky there's guys that from like the mid 80s on that, I had a hand in coaching and they've been a part of my life and we've kept in touch and most of these guys come home, Tommy Larkin and
Yep.
JJ Richards,
Yep.
Bobby Savakis and Scotty Trimmer.
Hmm.
They were part of the rebirth, and I'm just excited to no end to be able to have them to have Corey and Larry join us. And
It's the best. That's so
John
great.
Stinner, John was class of '69, and he went to Nebraska to play football. He was one of the last recruits of Coach Devaney slash maybe one of the first recruits for Tom Osborne
Okay.
at Nebraska, and he never came home. He went up, big career in banking, became a state senator and just the most humble, kind man. I'm just, and again, as a child, I remember sitting 3 rows back cheering for him. And
Hmm.
to see these guys come back is just a big thing for me. And class of 1971, Jack Hines,
Yeah.
and a prolific left-hander, great player, even greater person. So we'll be welcoming him home, and we'll be welcoming home from the class of 1979, Roger Altmeyer, who
Okay.
very just a proficient point guard. I mean, just was. It's kind of funny, like when we were in school, and Roger's 4 years older than me. The uniform of choice back then was the old Marquette no tuck uniforms.
I remember those.
I showed the
Vividly remember
picture.
those, actually.
I showed the picture to the kids, and they were like, "Coach, can we get these? Can we get these?" I mean, you want to talk about something that was ahead of its time, Phil?
Yeah.
Holy hell! And they're illegal today. All the stuff that McGuire did is illegal. So I found a company that was willing to make them for me,
Okay.
and I told our athletic director, and he's like, "You better call the WPIL. It's an illegal uniform." And I called the WPIL, and I said, "Look, it's a one-time thing, just And they said, and this reached the National Federation of High Schools, and they told me no. They were just like, she says, they said, they're like, because it's an actual rule now. You ought to see these referees. I mean, they can miss fouls like it's no one's business, but they could see a kid's jersey not
Right.
not tucked in.
Right.
Where like they stopped the game,
They're
tuck
like
your
the
shirt in.
NFL.
And basically, the guy from the National Federation called and said, "You have no idea what you could start. The no tuck jerseys." I don't know. I was with Sonny Vaccaro, and he said that the NBA ruled them illegal too, and the New York Knicks in that era the shirts were tucked in, but they didn't have they didn't have New York across their chest. They kind of had it going
At
along
the
the
bottom.
bottom of their
They
waist.
had a number above, then the name on the
Yeah, the
bottom.
number was above, the
Right.
name was below, but the shirt tucked in.
Yeah. John, I got to tell you this. And it was in '79 that we got WOR at home at our house in Thornburg.
Hmm.
And I remember those uniforms and thinking, I think they were the only team in the NBA that had uniforms like those.
Yeah,
They
but
were. They had to have been.
that was the salute to Coach McGuire, who
Right.
played for the Knicks back in
Right.
the day, back in '50s.
And the last name had the last name was on the bottom too, wasn't it? On the back of the jersey?
No,
No?
no, that they had Marquette on the front, Warriors on the back.
Okay. Okay.
So, but there's challenges to it. You got to remember, in 1979, kids wore shorts a little different than they do today.
I
I don't know. Like, I'd have to think about it, but man, I was working it, and I found a company that was willing to do it for me. I mean, but I couldn't get the permissions to do it.
right.
I've adopted the script Spartans that was on the uniforms throughout the from, I'm going to say, 1966 through 1975. Used that on various, coaching gear and
Okay.
products for the kids. But I'd like to at some point have us have a special legacy night uniform. Don't know. I don't think I can make that happen this year, but it's something that's on my
On the
to-do list.
docket.
And the last member here of the boys basketball legacy is class of 98, Jimmy Abel.
Okay.
And just again, just a prolific scorer, player,
Yep, I
big
remember him.
star of the St. Malachy's championship team.
The Blue Bombers.
Yeah, from the Blue Bombers, and a little tidbit to that, he is the nephew of Ronnie Weaver,
Right.
who was another teacher of ours, and
Yep.
so I'm very excited for this year's class. I think it's well rounded. Like I said, I've gotten this where now there is a piece of every generation of Montour basketball,
Yeah, that's great. That's
a
the way to
part of
do it.
legacy. And
Good
from
work.
the girls' end, I mean, we had spoken briefly about Jack Bjork, and we're going to induct Jack on the coaching legacy wall.
Okay, good.
He did a lot of coaching, boys basketball, and he was also baseball, and he also coached. He was the head coach. I believe, memory serves me correct, he made it all the way to the WPL finals coaching girls basketball, if memory serves me correct. And we have Taylor Hale,
Oh, yeah.
class of 1990.
Good.
I mean, she was part of the original Russo wall. Back then, I think you had to let her in 3 sports for at least 3 years or
I
something
think
of
she
that
played
ilk.
softball too, if I remember.
Yes, she
I don't know
played.
about a fall sport, but
Yeah,
probably volleyball.
she played softball. She was just a very, very good basketball player.
Yes, she was.
Her like sister Amy is also a member of the Montour Legacy.
I used to shoot
Just a
basketball a lot with them and their brother
Yeah,
Chris. Yeah,
yeah. Just a very athletic family. The brother was an outstanding volleyball
he
player
was
for Mitch
championship team.
Gallius.
They won the Whippeals that year, his
Yeah,
senior year.
and
Naval
from the
Academy grad too.
yeah, from the class of 2007, Jena Kacsur. Her father, Gary, was a backup varsity quarterback at Montour, was my assistant coach when I coached at Montour in the early 2000s. Gary was my assistant coach. I coached her brother, Ryan, and Jenna, just a good person. And last, Amalia Esposito, class of 2018. She was a 3-year starter at Montour. She was a 3-year starter at Susquehanna College. But not as much history to work with the girls. It didn't become a varsity. I mean, just to show you how much we've come along, yet it's not that long ago. Girls basketball, as we watch it, as the WNBA and all this good stuff, didn't become a varsity sport till the 79-80 season.
Okay.
Or, excuse me, it may have been 78, 70, somewhere in that, Jimmy Carter was president bit.
Right.
And that's when, it became a varsity sport.
Yeah.
And one of the driving forces of it, was Coach Kondo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Coach Kondo was a trailblazer with Title IX. Trailblazer. I mean,
Those are the things we
I'm
didn't know when
talking
we were in school. We never knew that about
talking
her.
scorched earth trailblazer
Yeah.
for the women. I
Right.
mean, but I mean, so that's the legacy class for this year, December 30th. I said we'll have a little meet and greet. in the cafeteria, and we got a little gift bag. Then we're going to go over to see the wall. They're going to have outside of each locker room, outside of the boys' locker room, outside of the girls' locker room, there is a Montour Legacy display, and they have these little basketballs, and it has their name, the year they graduated, and the year that they became a member of the Legacy.
Yeah, that's great.
And so they get their names on the wall. And like I said, I've seen honorees there with their entire families just taking a picture in front of it. And
Big deal. It's a
yeah,
huge
yeah,
deal.
it's become something special. And
Right.
just to see everybody coming home the way they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I start getting phone calls in July, like, "Hey, we're making holiday plans. When's?" Because last year we didn't do usually we do Legacy Night over Christmas because most people somehow make their way home.
Right.
Well, last year we had a very good team last year. I mean, very good team, an uncrowned champion in my estimation. But we were invited to a tournament in Tampa, and where we played against some of the best teams in the country, and I think we finished fourth.
Right.
So Legacy Night didn't. Last year, for Legacy Night, I honored Coach Kondo herself,
Okay.
and I don't know if there's any better tribute. Anybody else is an opening act to her.
For
Anybody else
sure.
is an opening act. So
And just back whenever I was in high school, I vivid memories of her. I never had her for any type of class or anything, obviously, but she knew who I was. She knew everybody was. And she always had a smile on her face.
yeah,
Always.
you know,
An infectious smile.
yeah. I mean, but
That was Miss
what
Fonda.
when she crossed over the lines, man, she became.
Yeah.
She was good. She was good, and the Montour teams reflected that. I mean, but last year we just honored Coach Kondo.
Good.
We had her, nieces and her surviving folks there, but it just like I said, you had to like I said, I did reach out to the family, and whenever we did the original class,
Mhm.
and they just said that just not well. You know,
Yeah.
was asked to leave it be for now, and you got to respect that.
Right. Right.
And so you know, I'm looking forward to the current players, and like I said, it's become almost like a basketball reunion. And I make up these passes, and they're kind of like backstage passes, into my little music world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the same company that makes Journeys passes.
Right.
So there's, VIP passes for them.
That's awesome.
There's a gift bag, and there's a little meet and greet, and
Yeah.
it's special, Phil. It's special, and that I can do it from home. Montour's home. I mean, my basketball career is, taken me literally all over the world.
Sure. Right. John, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
When I describe to friends of mine, whether they're from Pittsburgh or they're from other parts of the country, we talk about high school. And I tell everybody all the time that there was something about being a student at Montour High School.
Very special place.
And I don't know, this is nothing against any of the other local schools. It doesn't matter if it's a bordering school or if it's anywhere in Western Pennsylvania, but there was something about being at Montour that to this day,
We
and I'm
were
talking
we were
35 years later for me, that is just very special.
we were blessed with amazing educators. We were really, and you know what? And I got to see them. Obviously, my brother was a teacher, and my
Yep.
sister was a teacher.
Yep.
So I got to see a lot of these people in a different light compared to a lot. But we were so blessed that these people cared about us.
Right.
They cared about us as people, and all these years later, they care about us.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and I always felt that, especially when I was in 8th grade, it's when my dad got sick, and he passed away like a month after the school year ended. It would have been 1984. And the teachers, the administrators, Mr. Martonic, you know,
yeah,
who to me was a very nice guy. Uh, Mr. Boris, who was the guidance counselor,
yeah,
all of them made sure that I was doing okay, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And I
They
didn't
were,
even know that the teachers knew that my dad was sick, but
yeah.
they knew.
the-
They knew.
We were blessed. I mean, that's just the one thing. Like when, as I reach out to these people, you know, and they share the memories.
Mhm.
Montour is a special place. It is, and you know what? And we've got an administration there today that honors. Again, back to the word legacy. I
Right.
mean, we have a superintendent today, Dr. Stone, who's fabulous. I mean, he's fabulous, and he has to be fabulous in a different era of education. And he does an amazing job, and he's got one big mother effing juggling act going on there. Because I
I'm
mean,
sure he does,
the
yeah.
world has changed. I mean,
Right.
someone like someone like Sparky, who he lived that Montour dynamic.
Yes, he did.
And he's just, I mean, and he just bleeds black and gold.
He always has.
I mean,
Right.
the place is in good hands. But my concern, like when I start doing what happens when these guys are gone?
Right.
Do you tape a name on the wall and they're not here, and that's just not
We've been lucky that there's been that passing of the torch
yeah,
over
yeah,
the
and
decades, over the
and
generations.
like I said, that day may be coming sooner than later. Then I'm passing the
Yeah.
torch.
But, that goes back to the 1960s, John, when you're talking about all these great athletes that came out of the 60s, especially with basketball, and you'll remember this, in the gym at the 9th and 10th grade building, in the weight room, you had the pictures of these teams.
Yeah, I
And there's
mean,
Mr. Jabera, who was one of my teachers, Mr. Hopper, Denny Hopper, one of my
yeah,
teachers.
yeah, and these guys
Mr.
come
Avon,
back.
I think, was in those pictures, I mean, the names go on and on, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Jubera's daughter's a member of
Yes, she is. She was a
the
great hooper.
legacy.
And I think she played the same year. Was she the same year as Taylor?
Yes,
Yep, that's what I thought.
and and so Mr. Jubera comes back every year.
Nicest guy
We
in the
honor,
world.
you know, Mr. Hopper was a prolific scorer
Yep,
at this
great
school,
athlete.
and he's on the wall. I guess the part that just makes me feel good about this whole Phil is, I sent out the invitations, and you know, coming in, I make sure that I introduce the members of the previous legacies that came home to see their other teammates and their other
Right,
brothers.
right.
I bring them to center court too.
Good. Oh,
And
that's
it's
awesome.
become it's become a tradition. And and I think, a little bit, like, you know, like I was at practice the other day. I'm like, hey, tomorrow's Pearl Harbor.
Right.
What's that, coach? What do you mean, what's Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a sense of pride. It's a sense of accomplishment, and it's something that you know, as long as they have me lead it, I will do it the way it needs to be done.
That's
And
great.
like I said, and what I do. I'm sorry, I had something flicking on to
Oh,
me
that's
there.
okay.
But I ask the people that I've already honored, submit me names that you think the committee should consider with this. And then and the committee and they are so energized with this. And sometimes I got to rein them in. They want to have legacy golf outings.
Well, somebody else can organize that.
I might be like, I might be petitioning the good Lord for a 25th hour as is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hey, All those guys are golfers. I know they get together and golf, but even from our
Not
era,
me.
let
Not
them
me.
organize. Find somebody else to organize it.
I coached under a guy at Stowe Rocks, Dick Citrone,
Oh, yeah.
tremendous. And I mean, he was a scratch golfer. I mean, like he could golf, and he tried to teach me one year, trying to put that little ball in the hole. I was a nervous wreck. Not for me.
Right.
And that was before cell phones, and I was starting to get into the thing here with Vicaro and diffuse and all that good stuff that I was blessed to be a part of. Being away from a telephone in 1988 was easier said than done. Like I don't think anybody could appreciate what it was like. What I didn't know, where you go golfing for 8 hours. You came home to an answering machine of
How many
you know.
messages? Right.
So I mean, I don't know if I just didn't have the patience for it, but golfing's out. But for this one night, it's just great to have everybody home, and everybody is a proud Spartan, and it makes me feel good. And we already got people, you know pieces in place here for 2026. I mean, hopefully we get that far. But we've got a young team this year, and
Yeah.
they're
Talk about the
gelling.
team a little bit.
They are. Well, we graduated four 3-year starters
Right.
who I think we lost maybe 9 games over the last 2 years.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we're gelling, getting experience. I think we only had 2 lettermen back.
Hmm.
It's been, they're working hard, they're battling, and we're going to be okay. It's just, sometimes to win a big game, you have to play a big game.
Well, of course. Right.
But they're very coachable. They're working hard. I mean, we opened up the season at Alderdice, and I think we lost by a basket.
Right.
Good things are coming for these kids. It's just,
Okay. Good. Good. Who's in the section with Montour?
we're in a tough section: Lincoln Park, Chartiers Valley, Moon, us. It is there's no cupcakes in our world, but I think we're going to show up every Tuesday and Friday.
Good. 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 And it'll be nice whenever they're playing on Legacy night, you see all these people will come back, and
Yeah,
they see the wall. They're there every day.
yeah,
They know the
yeah.
history.
But you know what? And to see these guys, they want to come down to the locker room.
Mhm.
They want to see the kids and meet the kids. And one thing we always do, we take a group picture. Everybody that comes home with everybody that's there. And, you know, I don't know if the girls are going to be, they're playing in Deep Creek, Maryland. They're going to be in transit. I don't know if they'll get back or not, because their coach is a member of the girls coach is a member of the Montour Legacy as well.
Right.
And so hopefully she'll be able to get back in time.
Okay.
And that's where I'm at, Phil.
Well, how's the girls team gonna do this year? How are they looking?
My understanding is they got several players back.
Okay.
The girls doing a great job with it, and I think they'll be contending for a playoff spot as well.
Okay. All right.
As
Any other thoughts,
we,
John?
I'm sorry.
Any other thoughts? Any other
That's it. Thank you for taking the
Yes.
time. I'd like to come back and join you with some of our other endeavors later in the
Yeah, we
year.
will for sure. Yeah, I'll be in touch with you about that.
We
And,
got the final Frontier tour coming up, with my friends from Journey.
we'll definitely talk about that
I'd
before the
like to
season
talk to
gets
you
out.
about that. The Legends Hall of Fame, March 1st at Montour Country Club.
Okay.
We have the Hall of Fame games, January 24th and 25th.
Mhm.
And outside of that, I don't really have a lot of things to do.
Well, we gotta make some time for some pizza or whatever here soon.
Just let me know. Just let me know. You guys come out to a game anytime.
For sure.
Please, please, please join us on the 30th.
Yeah, we'll be around. So I'll
It's
definitely
gonna
be
be
there.
it's gonna be a great night, and I think it's gonna be a lot of, like I said, it's something that I think's gonna stand the test of time.
For sure. Well, you're doing great work, John, and we
Thank you, my
appreciate
friend.
it. And we will certainly be in touch about future episodes. We go from there.
Okay, thank you, my friend.
You have a great night. Take care, John.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
night.
And bye
Bye
bye.
bye.